So identifying the right product and sculpting the right offer is probably one of the most critical things you can do when building a physical products brand and selling on Amazon. Said another way, if you get the product research phase right, if you get your offer right, everything else is easier. It's easier to launch, pay-per-click's more efficient, it's easier to get good reviews, it's easier to get the Amazon flywheel going. On the flip side of that, if you don't focus really well and have the right principles when you're developing a product and identifying the right product and offer to sell on Amazon, everything's difficult, it's more costly, it's less efficient, and it's more difficult to pull off the financials and the cash flow. So to kick off this module on the product pyramid, I wanted to start off by talking about some of the product foundations that really will hone in some principles to keep in mind as you sculpt your offers, as you do product research. And throughout this module, we will continue to peel the onion back to do a deep dive on product research. So the key point of this particular presentation is to understand the underlying principles of products, offers, and Amazon shopper psychology. So the first key principle to really understand is that people buy because of either pain or pleasure. And to create irresistible offers and premium offers that customers are willing to pay up for and pay more for and to not have price sensitivity for, you've got to hone in on either one of these things. So if I've got really bad asthma or my kid has really bad asthma and I've got a solution to help me better treat that problem, I don't really care what the price is. You're solving a major pain for me. If I can barely get out of bed and I've got a horrible back and you've got a solution that solves my back pain and changes fundamentally the quality of my life and addresses that problem, I'll pay for it. On the flip side, if it's a pleasurable activity, something I think about a lot, something that I'm emotionally connected to, something that's part of my identity, I don't care how much it costs. I'm going to use a lot of my free disposable income to pursue product purchases that cater to that pleasure and cater to that thing I like. So pain or pleasure is one of the buckets that you should absolutely identify when you're selecting a particular product. Also, offer is everything. People don't necessarily buy products. They buy products the way that they're represented. Key point, the way that they're represented. So how you sculpt your offer from how it looks, what the features are, what the quality is, what the size is, how it communicates to the customer, the brand envelope that you deliver that offer through. All that stuff matters and an offer is everything. So what are the key elements of an offer? First of all, visual differentiation is key. Having something that looks different is especially important when you're selling online, and it's especially important in the sea of sameness that exists within the Amazon platform. Second, you've got to answer the question of why would a customer purchase your product? This is so important when you're thinking about sculpting your product and creating an offer. As they're scanning through in a couple seconds after they type in a particular keyword on Amazon and they're scrolling down, they're looking at all these other products, they're passing through ads, they're passing through video ads, there's some SKUs on there that have 5,000 plus reviews. Why would they purchase your product? If you can't answer that and you can't represent that within your Amazon listing, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful with the product on Amazon. The third is really delivering value for the price. Key point here is that doesn't necessarily mean the lowest price. In fact, I think a lower price is a fleeting advantage and not necessarily one that's going to stand the test of time. Price matters, but where price matters is does the price you are selling the product for align with the value that you are able to articulate with your listing and ultimately with your product offering? Even if your product's $50 more than something else, if you pack an insane amount of value, that is an enticing offer. Fourth is social proof. This is going to primarily come through reviews, so there is a bit of a chicken and egg problem in terms of launching without reviews and then kind of scaling into a more mature product that has reviews. But everybody's got to start somewhere. And you slowly want to cultivate those reviews through a good product, through good communication with your customers. And you can reveal social proof in your imagery, in the way that you represent your products, and in the way you verbalize your product. A lot of foreign Amazon sellers, this is their biggest deficiency and one of the biggest advantages that we have as Western sellers that understand the customer and the culture more from buyers in this market. Fifth is brand. And this doesn't mean are you Nike? That's not what I mean by brand. What I mean by brand is, does the name sound pretty decent? Is it not a weird name? Can you actually write and articulate yourself in your written copy? Does your imagery represent the offer and product you're trying to represent and the price you're trying to represent? And do you have other visual assets and brand assets that cohesively tie together the elements of both your articulation of your offer as well as the trust that comes with your product and brand? And then finally, trust, right? Again, this kind of leads into reviews. It's how the product is delivered. It's the brand promise and how you envelope that into your listing. But does the overall vibe of your product and listing give a customer trust that they're not taking a risk that isn't worth it? So these are the 6 core elements of an offer and how you can sculpt a fantastic offer. So another fundamental question is to understand why customers buy, and specifically why do customers buy on the Amazon platform? And really there's 9 reasons. One, simple, they want it, right? Hey, I've got this need for this thing. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. I'm going to go to Amazon.com, type this thing in, and I'm going to pick it up today. And sometime this week, it's going to be delivered to me. Pretty cut and dry and simple. Sometimes it is as simple as that. The second is fear. This could be fear if their problem gets worse. This could be fear of not fitting in. This could be fear of missing out. But it's an emotional impulse in the consumer's brain that they're trying to solve a disparity that they have with something in their life. And fear is a phenomenal sales tool. Third is ease. And Amazon has a lot of embedded advantages for this, but how convenient is it to purchase? How convenient is it to use? And how much friction is there to buy and use the product? Fourth is impulse. And there's a lot of these opportunities on Amazon where there's suggestions by Amazon, there's emails that they send out, or they are just bored and shopping out of boredom. Impulse is a fantastic way that you can sculpt offers to get in front of customers and tap into that psychology. Fifth, and this is related to fear as well, but missing out. Again, customers don't want to feel, especially emotionally, and especially when their ego is involved, that they're missing out on something. And product purchases do help fill that gap. Sixth is social proof or pressure. So if they see others in their situation overcoming a problem or reinforcing their pleasure, that is a reason why customers will purchase. Seventh is scarcity. Again, Amazon has some good embedded tools here to show number of units left, discounts, lightning deals, things like that. But if there is a scarcity in terms of either the quantity available, a limited amount or limited edition, and or the price is only a certain price for a certain amount of time, that will instigate conversion rate for customers and entice them to buy. Eighth is vanity. Again, we don't like to say it, but we are humans of ego. And anything that reinforces the view we have of ourselves, especially the inflated view that we have of ourselves, the more likely it is that someone's going to buy, and more likely it is that somebody's going to pay a premium price for that and not have price sensitivity. So vanity is a big one. And then similar to number 1, like another down the middle easy one, is it just solves a problem. If a customer's got a problem and the more immediate and intense that problem is, the more likely they are to buy a product to solve that problem. Next, how do brands typically sell? This is not a how-to guide. This is just understanding how most brands represent their offers in the marketplace. There's really 6 of them. 1, they just claim that their product's the best. 2, they say they have the best quality. 3, they say they have the most features and rattle those off. 4th, they say that they're the cheapest. 5th, they say that they have the best service. And 6, which is a little bit more soft, which is they care the most. This is how 95% of brands in the Western world, from physical brick and mortar retail to e-commerce sellers to Amazon sellers, this is how most folks present their offers and sell their products. But we want to look at how do alpha products position themselves. What do the best in class do to position themselves? So first, you've got to deeply understand the customer, and we're going to get into multiple videos on this exact topic. A lot of people think that they're just selling products. It's important to remember that you are selling and presenting products to actual human beings. So deeply understanding the customer is an amazing way to understand the right products to pursue and actually convert and sell those customers. Second is pattern interrupt. Those brands, those offerings, those listings that stop customers in their tracks, that offer something fundamentally different from what is out there and are visually representing how different that thing is, are typically the ones that are going to be the most successful. Third is appropriately understanding and applying and leaning into the triggers that exist within the emotional shopping experience of customers. Again, this ties really well into number one. If you don't understand customers, you don't understand the triggers. But this is using the language that they like to use. This is understanding their emotional journey. This is understanding their needs, wants, desires, where they hang out, where they want to be. All of those triggers are fundamentally important in the selling process and effectively scaling a product on Amazon. Fourth is tapping into the emotions. Again, this gets into the triggers, the words that you use, understanding the customer. But making emotional appeals with how you present your offer is how you can stand out and sell products effectively. Fifth, alpha offerings typically have premium value. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're wildly expensive, although they can be. What it means is for that value to price equation that is fundamentally important for customers, they deliver on that and they deliver on it in a big way. And there's outsized value for the price that they sell. Sixth, alpha products have visualization. They let customers visually understand what the benefits of their product are and the why reasons as to why they should purchase products. And then finally, they've got brand continuity and trust. So from the listing image to how they talk about the product, to their lifestyle photos, to their brand, everything about the experience of purchasing an alpha product is wrapped in continuity and delivers trust. So remember how Amazon customers shop. With all this being said, they go onto a computer at various moments in the day. Sometimes they're bored, sometimes they're in a hurry, but they're not doing this typically for a very long time. They're typing in a generic keyword that they think best represents what they're looking to buy. And then a whole list, usually about 30 products show up after they type, including multiple ads and multiple videos. And they are scanning very, very quickly, scrolling down the screen to make a decision and make a decision quickly. So you've got to understand that experience as well as the journey your particular customer archetype is going through so you can get in front of that, pattern interrupt, and ultimately present your offer in a compelling way that's going to make somebody buy. And a good way to understand how to do this is to study the best. I love to reverse engineer how brands in the most competitive niches develop and present their offers. So think supplements, think beauty, think cell phone accessories. Any of these categories that are massively, massively, massively competitive must have super compelling offers and must have alpha representation of the product when they're selling it to customers. So reverse engineering this will help you understand specifically to Amazon how the best and the best do it. And the framework we're really going to follow in this series of the product pyramid is to really step through a series of videos that go into deeply understanding customer archetypes, deeply understanding the customer journey, how to vet and come up with product ideas, how to look at data elements that make it much more mathematically probable that you're selecting the right product based on mathematics, and then how do you ultimately sculpt and differentiate an offer that matters and an offer that will win. That's it for Product Foundations.